Love it or hate it, the Nintendo Wii was an extremely important console. It turned non-gamers into gamers, video games into exercise, and TVs into victims. So today I'm ranking my top 10 favorite Wii games, and the only rule is that the game had to have originally released on the Wii. Starting out with number 10, Kirbys Return to Dreamland. Kirby as a game series has my wallet in a chokehold. If there is a new Kirby game coming out, it doesn't matter what my financial situation is, I have to buy the game and suffer the consequences later.
Midas, we just got an eviction notice taped to the door. Did you pay the rent?
Yeah, I spent all our money because I had to buy a couple of these bad boys to play Kirby games.
Why?
Prior to this, the last authentic Kirby game we got was Kirby and the Crystal Shards on the N64. There were a few games that came out in between, but all of them were missing the authentic Kirby charm that fans had been waiting for, except for Kirby Air Ride, which was inarguably perfect. The game starts off like pretty much any Kirby game, with Kirby and friends up to some hijinks, tomfoolery, and even some shenanigans, when they look up and see a giant spaceship being blown out of the sky. And because Kirby fights gods and fears nothing, he goes to check it out. And he finds a nice looking alien named Magolor in the wreckage of the ship. During the crash, the ship lost 120 energy spheres and 5 ship parts across Dreamland. And Kirby, being the nice guy he is, agrees to collect everything from Magolor because what could go wrong?
First I get evicted, then the universe collapses. What a week.
Return to Dreamland was like New Super Mario Bros. For Kirby fans. Other games had come out in the last few years, but nothing that filled that Kirby-sized hole in my heart. Everything about the game felt polished, whether it was the level design, the boss fights, or the collectibles. No matter what you're doing, everything felt well thought out and intentionally placed, which doesn't sound like a high bar to hit, but when the last couple games were like Squeak Squad, anything like this is helpful. In all of the levels, there are a couple energy spheres scattered around that you collect, and though a good amount of them are in pretty easy to access places, there were some that were really well hidden, requiring me to go back and play these levels another time, which I didn't mind at all because the level design and gameplay are some of the best in the entire franchise. All of the copy abilities have a wide range of moves, which fixed one of my major issues with the earlier games in the franchise, where some abilities were just far better than others, and I would only need to use certain abilities to solve puzzles, and then I would never touch them again. And it's not just the copy abilities that are fun. There are other items scattered throughout levels that you use on your journey that are fun and unique. There's even a French horn.
Never mind, this is a 0 out of 10 because this is a tuba household.
And though Kirby games aren't known for having a groundbreaking story, Return to Dreamlands is one of my favorites in the entire series. And as a kid, this game gave me trust issues that have resonated throughout my personal life to this day. Though this is one of the many games that Nintendo has slapped the word deluxe on and resold on the Switch, I will always think of Return to Dreamland as one of the best Wii games of all time. Next, I have New Super Mario Bros. Wii. I get for a lot of people this would be way higher on their list, but to me that says more about the overall high level of quality the Wii's library had. New Super Mario Bros. On the DS was an absolute revolution. After Super Mario Land 2, we hadn't gotten a traditional 2D Mario game in a very long time, and getting one for the DS was awesome. But after playing that, all I wanted was a new 2D Mario on the home console.
Here's a new Mario game. Take it. Wow, a new game? Thanks. Here's another one. I haven't even played this one yet. I said, take it.
I understand they made too many New Super Mario Bros. Games, but when this came out, people around the world were going feral. Most 2D Mario games had some form of multiplayer, where you and a friend could take turns playing as Mario and Luigi, where you would each take turns trying your best to get through a level. But if we're being honest, this really wasn't multiplayer. It would be the exact same thing if you and a friend would take turns just playing as Mario. So when New Super Mario Bros. Wii allowed 4 people to play at the exact same time, the world immediately plummeted into chaos. You could play as Mario, Luigi, and then 2 Toads. But not a red one, a yellow and blue one.
Really, they couldn't think of another pair of characters? Like Lewis and Clark?
I'm not sure if it's because I was the person who was forced to play as the Toads, but I really don't mind them being the selectable option, even though Wario and Waluigi were literally right there. But outside of this being the first 2D simultaneous co-op Mario game we got, it still managed to be a great 2D Mario experience even if you were playing by yourself. It did a perfect job combining the typical 2D Mario feeling that we had gotten from games in the past, while maintaining the feeling of being a Wii game, adding the perfect amount of motion controls to enhance the experience, without it feeling like a gimmicky nightmare. The new additions to the game, like the propeller cap and the ice mushroom, felt entirely natural, and the attention to detail with things like all of the hidden secrets to uncover, or the fact that the enemies will stop and do a little dance to the music, made this a perfect Mario experience whether you were new to the franchise or you'd been playing since the NES. Up next is Mario Super Sluggers.
Midas, you're built like 3 kids wearing a trench coat. You don't need to be playing baseball. Why would I need to? I have this.
They still make Mario sports titles for golf, soccer, and tennis, but for some reason they refuse to make a new Mario baseball game. And it's a shame because the last Mario baseball game that we got was in Mario Sports Superstars.
You wanna what? No. Making this somebody else's problem. Johnson, mail this out for me. What are you mailing to North Sentinel Island? Can they even get mail there?
Being one of the 2 standalone Mario baseball games we've gotten, this was an incredible experience. There are over 70 selectable characters available for you to use on your team. And though some of them are repeats like a bunch of different color Yoshi, having a character selection this massive meant you could build the team with whoever you want. And it wasn't just Mario characters, there were some standouts like King K. Rool and Dixie Kong who made their first appearance in a long time in this game. All of the characters have their own unique stats, and though this does make some characters objectively better than others, it allows you to draft a team of characters that suit your playstyle the best. And that doesn't even include the chemistry system that rewards you for picking characters that enjoy to play with one another. Nintendo went above and beyond with this title to make sure that every decision you make mattered. Though the other games like Mario Strikers Charged or Mario Sports Mix were still great, Mario Super Sluggers is the game that reignited my passion for Mario Sports, and it is easily in the top 2 best Mario baseball games of all time.
Hey, they sent you back a box, but it's just full of dirt.
Number 7 goes to Super Smash Bros. Brawl. In recent years, Smash Bros. Has become an event. Whenever a new game is around the corner, people start speculating about what the next characters could possibly be. And with games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, this has become a celebration of video game history, rather than just being a Nintendo fighting game, but people forget that that started with Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Brawl was the first game to take non-Nintendo characters and add them to the roster. Bringing in Snake and Sonic may have opened the floodgates for us to get Steve down the line, which is a crime I can never forgive Nintendo for, but it also led to some of the most hype moments I have ever seen in a gaming community. I wouldn't be surprised if Sora's reveal could have been detected on the Richter scale. But the thing that really made Brawl a unique Smash Bros. Game was its single-player story mode, Subspace Emissary. Building off the adventure mode for Melee, we got a full story mode in Brawl, which may not have told the best overall story, but it had characters who had no business partnering up, working together, which I thought was an awesome idea. I never thought we would get a game where we'd see Fox and Diddy Kong work together to fight Rayquaza, but now that I've gotten it, I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back. And there were a bunch of other new features like the stage builder and the masterpiece mode to really tie the entire experience together. Brawl quickly became one of the best couch co-op experiences you could play on the Wii. And it was the first Smash Bros. To feature online play.
It's okay, buddy, take your time.
Yeah, the online play may not have been a selling point, but the fact that it existed was at least a step in the right direction. We still haven't gotten there yet, but at least it's a start. Even though Brawl had its fair share of issues like the strange tripping mechanic and the complete lack of a balanced roster, it was still a good time, especially if you played a modded version like Project M. Up next is Xenoblade. Everybody has that game that they pick up on a whim just because the box art was cool, and for me, that was Xenoblade. I know they're not for everybody, but I am a massive fan of JRPGs, and this is one of the most unique that I have ever played. The thing that made me fall in love with this game was the combat. Though it's a single-player game, the combat feels more like an MMO than anything else. Even in the smallest engagements, you're moving around the battlefield to set up your abilities, and though it took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out how to play well, once I got it, I had a great time trying to set up the most devious combos I could think of. Unlike some other RPGs, you don't have time to think about what the best move should be. You constantly have to monitor your health and cooldowns, and though it can be a little stressful, it's extremely rewarding. you're encouraged to explore every nook and cranny of the world. And though it can be daunting at first, the colonies and the world between are extremely fun to explore. And as someone who likes to do everything a game has to offer, Xenoblade is full of quests and side quests that have and will keep me entertained for hundreds of hours. Even though I don't play this on the Wii anymore, I still like to look back and think about all of the great memories I had playing this for the first time.
Wow, that's such a cool sword.
You wanna know what? I want a divorce, and it's that kid's fault.
The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess came out in a weird time in my life. I had been on a really big Zelda kick, and I was torn between getting this for the Wii or for the GameCube, so I ended up getting it for the GameCube. And then I didn't really play it because the Wii came out and I had so many other games that I could be playing. And when I got back around to it, I ended up playing this on the Wii and I got instantly immersed.
You liar, you said you were only putting Wii games on this list. Are we gonna have a problem? You wanna know what? I can find it in my heart to forgive you. Let bygones be bygones. We'll be okay.
Twilight Princess is weird because it released for the GameCube and the Wii at right around the same time, but it came out for the Wii first, so I'm counting it. And it's almost impossible to talk about the best Nintendo games without mentioning Twilight Princess because it's been on 3 of their consoles. This was a launch title for the console, so a lot of people going into the game had never experienced motion controls in the way that Nintendo was trying to show. And they could have easily overdone the motion controls and made a gimmicky title that a lot of people are divisive about. Good thing they didn't do that. Twilight Princess managed to strike the perfect balance about being a great Zelda game and a great Wii game. It did offer the new motion controls that fans were super excited for, but it didn't overdo it. It brought the series back to its original feeling from games like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, except this time you get to be a wolf. I'll be honest, when I first saw this gimmick, I immediately wrote this off as being a bad idea. Coming from someone who loves Wind Waker, I just thought they were doing way too much. But the Wolf Link segments are done really well. They don't overtake the rest of the game, and it even offers some really unique puzzles that we haven't gotten in a Zelda game since. The only reason I don't have Twilight Princess any higher on this list is because it takes such a long time to get going. My only real complaint with this game is that it takes such a long time for you to get the ability to switch between Link and Wolf Link at will, and even though it does a really good job setting up the narrative, whenever I go back to replay this game, getting through that tutorial segment is just painful. But everything else from the dungeons to the boss fights to even exploring the brand new version of Hyrule that is one of my favorites in the entire series feels incredible, and once I get through that early game segment, I have a hard time putting this down for any reason. Metroid as a series has had its ups and downs, with some games being looked at as the best Nintendo games of all time, and others being absolutely unplayable. But Metroid Prime 3 is one of the best games in the series. The Prime titles capture a feeling that I don't get in a lot of games. Being alone on an alien planet surrounded by a bunch of aliens who are trying to kill you makes you feel a fear that you didn't know existed. I love the feeling of isolation this game provides. There are a bunch of other first-person shooters where I can go around in space and shoot aliens, but not a lot of them manage to capture the same feeling of desperation that's available in Metroid Prime. This was the first Metroid game available on the Wii, meaning it was also the first that was able to utilize the new Wiimote and Nunchuck. And having played Call of Duty on the Wii, I can tell you firsthand that not every first-person shooter is meant for this format, but this game managed to pull it off incredibly well. You were able to move around and shoot at the same time, which I know sounds like a very basic control scheme, but for the time, this was an incredible change. Of course, the best way to play this is buying the trilogy, which is one of the best deals Nintendo has ever given out in their lives, getting 3 full AAA experiences for the price of 1. But even without the other 2 games, Metroid Prime 3 is still one of the best single-player experiences Nintendo has ever made. Maybe someday this will be brought to a modern console, but at this point, I'm not holding my breath. When you think of the Wii, there are a few titles that just pop into your brain, and one of those titles has to be Mario Kart. Ever since the series debuted on the Super Nintendo, it has been destroying friendships, and that is no more prevalent than in Mario Kart Wii. Because now it's not just you and your friends getting into fights, it's you and your entire extended family. With the Wii being one of the first consoles to bridge the gap between gamer and non-gamer, the pure chaos of Mario Kart was finally given to people who had never experienced it before. And that was for a load of reasons, one of which being the Wii Wheel. Though it was just a simple piece of plastic, it allowed anyone to pick up and play Mario Kart with the simplest controls possible. Most people understand how a car works to at least some capacity.
You're telling me they put horses in this thing?
Who needs all these buttons when you have a controller that works just like a steering wheel? But it goes so much deeper than just that. For people who had been playing the series for a while, there was a load of new content, like a ton of new characters and the inclusion of motorcycles to make this feel like a leap forward in the series, while still not overloading the new players by adding a bunch of unnecessary fluff. It was a simple, accessible kart racer for anyone to enjoy. And when you combine that with the incredible selection of both new and returning tracks, then you had a perfect game on your hands. There's a reason people keep this game alive to this day, and I absolutely understand it. Because Mario Kart Wii is one of the most important Nintendo games of all time. 3D Mario titles are held to an incredibly high standard. Ever since Super Mario 64, they have put out nothing but incredible titles. The controls are responsive and fluid, and that is nowhere more prevalent than the Mario Galaxy titles. I am completely biased because Mario Galaxy 2 is one of my favorite video games of all time. But you really can't go wrong with either Mario Galaxy 1 or this. They both managed to capture what Mario is at its core perfectly, while shipping you off to space, which in theory sounds like a bad idea, but works perfectly. Mario Galaxy 2 has some of the most consistently perfect level design I have ever seen in a game. Mario 64 and Sunshine went for a more sandbox Mario experience, allowing you to do things out of order and experience the game however you want. And as much as I like that with the early games, there's something about the linearity in Galaxy that just works. No matter how many times I do it, flying from one planet to the other feels cinematic and engaging in ways that I can barely describe, all accompanied by one of the best soundtracks in gaming history. This is the only 3D Mario game to ever get a sequel, and honestly, I can see why they did it. There was so much potential after the first game that they went back and they made a borderline perfect sequel with the second, including new power-ups like the Cloud Flower and Yoshi, which made the whole experience feel even better. I know that we've already gotten 2 Mario Galaxy titles and that we're never going to get a third. If I had one wish, it would be for a third Mario Galaxy game, or for them to just put Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 in one package on modern hardware.
Well, we got half of that, but where's the rest?
Before we get to the best game, of course I have my honorable mentions. The only way I can accurately describe No More Heroes is that this is an insane game. I have played a lot of video games in my life, and for some reason there is nothing that compares to this. You play as Travis Touchdown on his quest to become the #1 assassin, and from the moment I started this game, I was absolutely addicted. The controls are pretty simple. You cut through anyone in your path with a beam sword, and though there are a lot of games that allow you to slice things on the Wii, nothing comes close to being this satisfying. Maybe my sense of humor capped out when I was 12 years old, but this is an incredibly funny and engaging game, full of over-the-top violence and crude humor that I still go back and play because it is one of the most unique experiences I have ever had. If any part of this game looks engaging to you, I highly recommend playing it because it is exactly what it looks like. Warriioware is a series that I am cripplingly addicted to. There is something about the rapid pace of these micro games that just itches my brain in the best way possible. Going from one game to another with only a few seconds in between may seem like it would be overstimulating or hard to follow, but that's the entire point. You only have a few seconds to figure out what game you're playing and how to play it. And the pure chaos that unfolds whenever I pick up a Wiimote to play this is the entirety of the fun. Having motion controls for Warriioware just makes sense, and the Wii was the perfect console to get a Warriioware game on. Whether you're playing for 5 minutes or 5 hours, Warriioware will have you engaged the entire time you play. And Donkey Kong Country Returns is a Donkey Kong Country game.
And thank you all for coming to my TED Talk.
2D platformers are my guilty pleasure. I may not be that good at them, but I still enjoy them with every fiber of my being. And as a series, Donkey Kong Country is known for being one of the best of all time. All of the levels are full of hidden secrets to uncover and arguably too many bananas. There was a long time between Donkey Kong Country 3 and this game, so being named Donkey Kong Country Returns only made me more excited to play. But even though I was excited, I was still nervous because this wasn't made by Rare. But luckily, Nintendo was able to capture that same sense of magic that those games had brought me as a kid, and I will forever be thankful for that. But the best Wii game of all time is Wii Sports Resort. I hate to say it, but the Wii would have been nowhere near as successful as it was if it wasn't for the original Wii Sports. Having a console come bundled with a game day one that showed off all of the new features was an incredible idea. And it's not like they were reinventing any of these games, it was just standard sports like bowling and tennis that anyone could pick up and play easily. But of the two titles, Wii Sports Resort is the better overall package. There were 12 sports available in this game, game, and though some of them were doubled up from the last game, all of the sports offered enough content to make everybody happy, whether you're a seasoned gamer or someone who has never touched a video game before in your life. For what it is, Wii Sports Resort is a perfect game. Whether you're cutting people down in swordplay or shooting basketballs, you're able to pick up any of these games with ease. Because none of them are overly complicated, they all are just the sport, but available on the Wii. And though I'm pretty sure Wii Sports Resort is the reason that I will never be able to get a pilot's license, whenever I find myself near my Wii, I always play a little bit of Wii Sports Resort.
Oh, this is a good workout. Oh my God, how long have you been playing for? Probably like 6 minutes.